All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Habits of Health book study. This is lesson 4 that we're going over today. I'm Julie Baker. I'm a certified health coach with Take Shape for Life. And today we are talking about starting where we are. So in our workbook, The Living a Longer, Healthier Life, it goes through a little bit of our health assessment. So anybody do your health assessment this week? I did. And you might have already done it before if you are towards the end of your weight loss journey, or you might have just done it several months ago, so your answers might be a little bit different now than they were before. But let's go ahead and in our book, turn to Chapter 5 in Dr. A's Habits of Health. Chapter 5 is all about evaluating your current health status. So I like how in the book it gave us an opportunity to circle some answers, and then we would add up what they equaled for that section. And if you didn't get a chance to do that this week, that's okay. We probably won't have time to go through every single one in this Zoom. If you're watching this on recording, just press pause and go ahead and do it. There's a lot of different sections in here, and it's very comprehensive. So I know that for me personally, I learned some stuff about myself and my health, and hopefully you guys did too. Everything from your eating habits, that was the first section, to how much we move, just our daily activity. The inner you, which was an interesting part because it really wasn't health related. It was more healthy mind, not necessarily healthy body. And I like that because it was talking about stress and friendships and your work and all that kind of stuff. So I think that that's an important part of your health journey. And then there was a medical history on here too, which some of you might have not known all the answers to that. I know that I don't. As far as a very comprehensive testing, your cholesterol levels, things like that. If you didn't know that, that's okay. You can kind of just skip that section. But there's the BMI chart on here as well. And let's see what else. Oh, and your family's history. Is anybody surprised at that stuff? I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, that it's surprising how much that could change your overall score is your genetics and your family history. So it was very interesting to go through this. And it's funny, my husband and I have posted the BMI chart recently on our Facebook page, and we've gotten some feedback from people that didn't, I don't know if they just didn't realize where they were on the BMI chart or never thought to look or, whatever. But when you post it and when people look at it and then they always want to know, oh, okay, where am I on this chart? And they go and find their height and find their weight. And then they find out that maybe they were in the overweight category and they didn't think that they were. Or maybe they knew that they were overweight, but they didn't realize that they were obese. And the BMI chart in this book goes all the way up to 54, which is a lot. It goes a lot further than some of the other ones that we see posted online. So I think that this is a really good one to go off of. But in light of some of their comments, if you're highly working out or if you have a lot of muscle, the BMI chart might not pertain to you. So that's what Corey and I kind of talked about is if you're a bodybuilder, you might, according to this chart, this might say that you're overweight because you have a lot of muscle weight. Muscle weighs more than fat does. So, we kind of explain you're not overweight, you're very in shape. If you work out a lot and you have a lot of muscle, this is going to look a little bit different for you. But I actually had a friend say, my BMI was 18, which actually isn't even on this chart. It's a little bit below the normal range. And we often get asked, how do I know where, the exact right weight is for me and my body? And I always tell people there's, every body is different. And so you do want to be in the normal category, to not be overweight for your height. However, there's no one saying you have to be in a 19 or a 20 BMI. I think that really is dependent upon you and your body and your lifestyle and all those things. So it's not necessarily an exact BMI number that you want to hit. You'll kind of know when you're at your optimal weight. You'll feel really good in your own skin. So, yeah, so you added all these sections up, and then on page 51, you find out your health score. So where do you fall in the category? Is it sick, very unhealthy, unhealthy, healthy, optimal health, or ultra health? I think there's maybe very few people that fall in the ultra health category, but I think it's really good to kind of break these things down and kind of see where we're at. And we can always retake this several months down the road, or maybe when we hit our goal weight, or wherever it is. So, and I do want to say too that I know for the medical history and your family genetics and things like that, don't be discouraged. I know there's some health issues in my family too. And so I was circling those numbers for all in the family. And I was like, oh, you know, because we do have genetics and we don't want to ignore that factor. But there's a lot of power in our habits and in what we choose to do. So, and it talks a little bit about that too. It's more than just genetics, and you can, you can do what you can do. So I think that that's important too. So I'm just going to take a minute. Does anybody want to share what their results were, or were they a little surprised about anything? I thought I would actually score a little higher than I did. I was still in the healthy category, but I was like, man, I eat really good and I work out. Like, I thought I would be like optimal healthy. I was right on the verge. And so I went back through and kind of was like, there are some things, that I can do better. And that was really good, because I probably wouldn't have broken it down in these exact categories the way that it did. And so I was glad that I went back through and really evaluated where I was at. So does anybody want to share maybe anything that they learned from taking the health assessment, or maybe you're taking it again? Just come off and share for a few minutes. Anybody? You guys quiet today? Are you awake?
I will.
I see you laughing. Yes. Hi, Racine.
Hey. I never took the health assessment when I started 4 months ago. So I took it as if I was just starting to see where I started, even though it says take it where you're at. And yeah, I was very surprised, because I scored way in the sick range, and I'm not sick. Like, I don't have any major health issues or anything like that. So I was very surprised to see that even being a healthy, overweight person doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy. So it was very eye-opening to see that, I'm not exactly as healthy as I thought I was.
Well, and I know we talk about the non-sick range, because like you said, like, I'm not sick, right? You're like, but I feel fine, I'm not sick. There's that non-sick and healthy. And it's surprising. I know, it really, this is a really good health assessment. So I would encourage, if any of you guys are coaches, to have your clients do the health assessment at the very beginning. I need to start doing that as well, because I think it maps out for you reality and where you're really at. And I think because sometimes we rationalize stuff in our head, like, it's not that bad. I mean, yes, I'm overweight, or, whatever, but like Gracine said, I'm not sick. I'm not in the hospital. I'm not on medications. I'm not, I feel fine. But when you take this assessment, it's like, oh, smack in the face, I didn't score as good as I thought I was going to either. And so I had to go back through and really evaluate things. So thank you for sharing, Gracine. Anybody else want to talk about their health assessment? Or maybe was there something that surprised you? Was there a section that you thought you were going to do really well, and it was not as good as you thought it was going to be? I liked the on the move section too, where it talked about how active we are. And I know a lot of you probably work in an office, and so it's challenging to get up and move. You're sitting in front of a computer or a desk all day. And some of the questions were like that. Do you take the stairs? Do you go out for lunch? Do you take walks? And I think those things are we can develop them into habits, but they're not a natural thing to do. We naturally just want to sit there and not do anything. And so I think a lot of this is kind of going against the grain of what our body wants to do. And so it really takes that extra step. And even with diet, and a lot of you are on the 5-in-1. So some of these, like Christine said, you might have needed to go through it how you were eating before, because obviously if you're on the 5-in-1, it's going to be a little bit different. But I think that, even just eating starches and processed food and salting your food, that kind of stuff, I mean, you probably don't think about, or maybe you grew up that way or whatever. So lots of things to really think about. So if you haven't taken that yet, do that. I think you can, or pause the recording or take it afterwards. And I really think that we can go back through and take it with wherever we're at. We're going to actually go on to lesson 5. And we're just going to go through this together. Chapter 3 in the Habits of Health book goes along with this. Don't worry if you have not read it. We're going to go through it. But a lot of lesson 5 is deciding what you want. And it's important to do the health assessment first before you go to this lesson, because you're going to take all the information from your health assessment and write it in. So now that you know where you are, then we're going to go to deciding what we want based on that information. So lesson 5 in the Living a Longer, Healthier Life, page 27, this is where you can write down what your information was from your health assessment. So my actual health score, and then you can write down what it is and your current reality. So where you're at, if it came up very unhealthy, healthy, wherever it is, you write that down. Has your weight, BMI, waist circumference. I know that some of that stuff in here you needed a measuring tape, and I know not everybody has one of those laying around. So if you don't have one, go get one at Walmart or Joann's, one of those. They're super cheap. But I know most people don't necessarily keep those on hand. But the waist circumference is really good to know too, especially because many of us women, while we're on our health journey, are losing inches. And often we lose inches when the scale isn't moving as fast as we would like it. So if you haven't taken your measurements on your health journey, I just encourage you to do that, because women, we lose weight in weird places. Okay, we're not like guys. Guys usually get it like right in the stomach. We are all over and everything. So take those measurements and you'll notice that your clothes will fit differently and all those things. But it's good just to take note of that to see how many inches you are losing, because you don't want to get discouraged if the scale only moves a pound or 2. You might measure yourself and realize I lost an inch or 2, which is huge. So we're just going to fill this section in right now if you haven't done that. Activity level, what's your activity level, your energy level, your desire to improve, and what does optimal health look like to me? So that's important because, like we talked about, optimal health is different for each person, and it's depending on what your body is and what you would like to achieve. So I want people to be realistic in their health journey, and I want them to be encouraged that your body is your own and that everybody is different. We don't compare to other people because we're not the same. So it's important to focus on what you want to do in your health journey and not look at someone else. I know it can be discouraging sometimes when you see someone else lost 15 pounds this week. You just got to focus on what you would like to accomplish. So if you turn the page, on page 28, said, what do you visualize for yourself? We're going to take a minute and fill this out because I think this is important. So what are some things that you would like based on your health assessment that you just took, which was a lot of information? What do you visualize health looking like for you? So take a few minutes and write a couple specific things down. Make sure that they're specific, not just, I want to feel better. How do you want to feel better? Or what do you want to look like? So we'll just take a few minutes and do that. Okay. On page 29, it talks about making SMART goals. So we're going to go over what that means. A SMART goal for yourself is very specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-oriented. So basically, I know that it kind of feels like we're taking a while with this study to write down maybe exactly what we want to do, but I think it's important for us to know where we would like to be and the things that we would like to accomplish. And so if we don't take enough time to really be specific on those things, then it just becomes, yes, we're working towards our health goal, but what are we really working towards? We need specific things. So like I said, rather than setting a goal to get healthy, you specify the amount of weight. I want to lose 30 pounds. Or instead of, I just want to have more energy, I want to be able to ride bikes with my children. And make your goal easy to measure. So rather than saying, I want to feel good, I want to be able to walk, say I want to walk 18 holes of golf carrying a golf bag and not be out of breath. So that's going to be very specific to you. I don't play golf, so that doesn't apply to me. But it would have to be something that's very specific for you and your lifestyle and the things that you enjoy doing. And make it a reasonable goal and very realistic and time-oriented too. So write down next to your goal when you would like to achieve those things. So if you're on your weight loss journey, might take a little bit of math in your head to try to figure out when you might get to your healthy weight. But you probably know a little bit of a time frame. So go ahead and write that down next to your goals and the things that you like to accomplish. And this goes right along with chapter 3 in the book. So I'd like to open up to chapter 3. This is a really good chapter. So I know if you haven't read it, you got to go back, and I think I highlighted and underlined most of the chapter. So it's really good, and it's motivation for change. So basically it's our reason why. Why do we want to get healthy? And we know that in Take Shape for Life, that's what we do. We find out people's why before we tell them the how. We want to find out, why do you want to get healthy? Why do you want to lose weight? And that's going to be the motivating factor in your health journey, because there's going to be times when you don't feel like doing it. And you kind of have to revisit the reason why you started in the first place. And that's why we always, as coaches, we like to have people post your goals, put them on your mirror, on the screenshot of your phone, or on your steering wheel in your car, because it needs to be constantly in front of us, because we forget. And we're just tempted to make unhealthy choices. So if our reason why is right in front of us, it just reminds us of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So this chapter, we're on page 19, chapter 3 in the Habits of Health book. Very powerful stuff, this first part of this chapter. I really like this, and I want to make sure that we get this. In the green sidebar, it talks about a habit of health is focusing on what you want, not on what you don't want. This is really good, because I think our mind is a very powerful thing. And sometimes we tend to just think about, I can't eat cake, I can't eat candy, I can't eat all these things that you love. And that's what you're thinking about, is you're focusing on the things that you can't have, instead of focusing on what we can have. I can have yummy chicken, and I like vegetables, and I can eat these things. And so I really feel like it's a mind shift in what we're doing. And I don't know if anybody's read The Power of Positive Thinking, but that is one of my favorite books. And it is very powerful just in our mind and how we process things. And so I think a lot of this chapter is just talking about that, is shifting from a negative mindset of what we can't have to focusing on what we can have. And that is really what's going to change for us. And so on page 20, it talks about conflict-driven motivation. That's one of the major reasons that people yo-yo and go back and forth, is because you're thinking about what you can't do instead of what you can do. And so I think that's why they're talking about, as far as habits, not thinking about, I can't do my bad habits, but replacing them with new positive habits. And basically it talks about two choices. So on page 21, problem solving versus our desired outcome. Think in terms of trying to fix your bad health, which is a problem orientation, or shift your focus to creating health, which is an outcome orientation. And the mind has a tendency to think about the things that, you know, you put in it. So if you're constantly thinking, oh, I really wish that I could have that when you go stand in your pantry, or you go to a drive-through with your kids, oh, I really wish that I could eat what they're eating, instead of let's do something healthy. So let's replace those bad thoughts with positive thoughts. And it talks about people that go on diets and then they go right back to what they were doing before. And it's a mind shift. And I really think that that's the difference between what we have to offer and other things that are out there. And so, yeah, this basically says it's a problem-solving, conflict-driven reaction to emotional anxiety, which is why most people return back to what they were doing before. Okay, so there's, on page 21, about 3/4 the way down, the paragraph, it says, you could try to adopt the healthiest diet that ever existed, but if your motivation, so your reason why, is to fix a health problem that you have or that you might have in the future, you'll be back to your old tricks in 2 years with your weight back on and sometimes in worse shape than ever, because you're thinking about what you don't want. I don't want to have diabetes because it's in my family. And, you know, although that is a good thing, yes, you do not want diabetes, but let's replace it with a positive thing. Here's what I want to be able to do. And I really think a lot of it is just in our mind and imagining how our life is going to look when we've created optimal health for ourselves. And very highly successful people do a couple things. They're visionaries and they're thinking about their future. They're thinking about maybe they run a business or a company. They're thinking about what it's going to look like. That's not to say that they're not having problems with their business, because we know that always happens. But they're not focusing on those things. They're thinking about the future and what it's going to be like. And here's the next thing that we're going to implement. They're not spending massive amount of time on the things that are not working. And it works the same with our health. We have to be thinking about what we are going to change and how we're going to look in the future. And so how to structure our success, how, we can make goals and be specific in those goals, but how are we going to achieve them? So it talks about structural tension. And I don't know if any of you have done structural tension before, but it is something that you can do with your health coach. So we're going to go back to page 28 in your workbook. There's a little box at the bottom, the power of structural tension. If you have not seen this before, it's basically taking us from our current reality to where we want to be and how do we get there. And it is really good as far as with Take Shape for Life for very specific things. Maybe somebody's having a hard time. Structural tension is a great way to say, these are the steps that I'm going to take every day to get there. So if your goal was, I would like to run a 5K. Okay, well, if you're currently not working out at all, then you're not just going to go run the 5K tomorrow, because that's not a wise thing to do. You're going to want to write, I'm going to start walking, and however many times a week for 20 minutes. And then for a month or two. And then I'm going to start running. And then I'm going to build up running. So it's important to take those little steps, because you can't achieve your bigger goals if you don't take those little steps. And they need to be achievable too. So my husband always says you can't climb Mount Everest without getting to base camp first. You have to take it one thing at a time. And so once you get there, then you establish, okay, well, here's where I'm at now, and I still have some more steps to take, but you might have learned a couple things along the way. And you know what? I think I'm going to change some stuff because I realized, maybe walking is easy for me and I really enjoy it. I can add more. Or there's a lot of pressure on my knees, so maybe I need to lose a little bit more weight before I start doing that. So we learn as we go. And so I also just wanted to hit on page 25 in the book where it talks about weight control is a little bit harder for emotional eaters. And we're women, so we're emotional eaters, right? I feel like everybody falls into that category, but especially ladies, because we're just emotional. That's how God made us. So we're not apologizing for that. But I think that sometimes we kind of let our emotions get the best of us. I know we've all been there. So there's a green box where it talks about learning how to cope with eating that's driven by emotion. So if you haven't read that, circle it, highlight it, underline it. Because if you haven't dealt with it up till now, you will deal with it soon, I promise. And, a lot of it has to do with internal factors and being motivated by those things. And so we're going to talk about, as the study goes on, tips for how we can overcome our emotions. But like this chapter is saying, we need to know where we're at, and we need to be realistic and honest with ourselves so we can know where we want to be. So this kind of goes through the thought process of when we're tempted to eat something that we shouldn't or make unhealthy choices. And I like that because it made me laugh. It's on page 27, what goes through our mind when we're making that decision. The outward that people see is, should I eat it or should I not? Let's say you're at a party and they're having dessert. They use the example of a banana split. And there's a lot of internal conversation going on in your head, but what comes out is either, yes, I would love that, or no, I'm good, thank you. That's all that anybody else sees. But this kind of goes through the power of choice that we have and what we're thinking in our mind. And we have some choices to make. The first kind of choices are the ones that are going to benefit us for a long-term health. And the second ones are ones that are not going to benefit us. So it's funny because it says, I like the looks of the banana split. Yes, I could have it. That's right, you could. And this is like, the little angel demon sitting on your shoulder having this conversation. I want it. Yes, you do. But I also want to support my long range of optimal health. Sure. I could eat the banana split or not. That's true. If I ate it, it would be harder to create my goal. That's true too. What do I want more? The banana split or optimal health? Optimal health. Therefore, while I could eat this, I choose not to have it because I'm supporting my more important goal. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so this is the whole conversation that we're having in our head. And this is basically the stop, challenge, choose that we've talked about before, where we stop and take a breath and we challenge ourselves. What do I really want? And I know that I have used the stop, challenge, choose in a lot of different areas of my life, and it's very powerful to take that extra pause, that extra minute that you need, and just breathe and don't worry about what other people are thinking about you. And maybe have that internal conversation, choosing what you want most. And there's a quote that says, don't give up what you want most for what you want right now. Because right now, we all want the banana split or whatever it is. That's what you want. But that's just what you want right now because it's right in front of you and it's very tempting for you. Long term, that that's not really what I want. I want optimal health. So then you have that conversation with yourself. And and it even says, I like this on page 27, if you don't have that type of conversation with yourself, when temptation rears its ugly head, then you will eat the banana split and you will regret it later when your senses return. Mindlessness is the enemy. And so I really think that through this study, we're just learning about where we're at and how we get to where we want to be. And it's those daily choices, it's those little things. It probably doesn't seem like a big deal, right? well, I just ate one dessert, or because it's Valentine's Day weekend. Well, it's Valentine's Day, or it's always something, right? Because, oh, it's Thanksgiving. Oh, it's Christmas. Oh, it's Valentine's Day. Oh, it's my birthday. Oh, and then like, it's always something. You can always come up with a reason why you should eat that or celebrate or all that kind of stuff. So it's important to be very mindful. Mindlessness is the enemy. That's what it says. I feel like that needs to be on a plaque somewhere. Like, I need to always be mindful of what I'm doing and what I'm eating, and even, what I'm saying, because I feel like too, our words are super powerful, and people are watching us on our health journey. And I think sometimes, people will tend to talk about, well, I'm on this program and I can't eat this and I can't do this and I can't have this. And they're focusing on all of the wrong things. And somebody that's watching you is saying, well, I don't want to do that, because they're talking about all these things that they can't do. And that doesn't sound appealing to me at all, And I know sometimes we don't mean to do that. We don't. It's just maybe we're tired, or maybe we're grumpy, or, whatever it is. It's like we just tend to be like, oh, I can't do this, and it's just not fair. And we don't realize that people they're watching our health journey. And so we have to be very careful what we say, because we know it is a positive experience. Katie, did you have something to add to that? You got to come off mute.
I had to figure it out. I'm over here clicking all over the place. Yeah. Stop, challenge, and choose. There have been times on the journey when we've really wanted something, and we've fallen, and we've actually had did it and regretted it the next day and the day after. And what happens to our bodies, even if we, have that go to the birthday party, oh, I'm just going to have a bite here, or, oh, now it's an anniversary party, oh, I'm going to just have a bite here. All those little bites and snippets put you out of fat burn. Those things can slow your metabolism back down to where, you're not burning what you need to burn. And if you fall off the track that one day, it's going to take you 4 days to get back into the fat burn. So this time, Dale and I are really not just being health coaches for other people, but we're being more mindful for ourselves. Like last night, going to the movies, going with our friends. They wanted popcorn. We're like, we're not eating it. Because popcorn's not on the plan. And, you can't sit there and eat it. And so we brought our own little snacks to, when that came, we can have our own and we're being mindful of our weight. We're being cautious. And then we're also being mentor of them because they decided not to have popcorn. So, we helped them on that emotional roller coaster of them wanting to have, that popcorn, and they didn't have it last night. So it's.
Yep. Well, it's contagious, right? I mean, being healthy is contagious. Whenever you're, around somebody who's either really healthy or somebody who's not really healthy. I mean, that's why I think it is challenging if you have a house full of people who eat unhealthy food, who don't exercise. It's hard. That makes it harder because the people around you shape a lot of who you are. And so, not that it's impossible, because it's not, and you can still do it, but you're very aware of your surroundings. And Julie said in the chat, I love the ripple effect. It is a ripple effect. When you see somebody getting healthy and you're around them, then you're all of a sudden like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. Or look what they're eating. Like, even people who don't even know what Take Shape for Life is, right? Because we're around family and friends, and all they know is they're doing some health thing and they're eating good. That's what they think. So, that's fun. But I want it to seem, I want it to seem something that is doable, not like, oh, I could never do that, or I could never eat that, or because that's what a lot of other people think is, well, I don't want to eat healthy. and so I want to keep doing what I'm doing. That's fine. Then maybe their motivation isn't strong enough, or their reason why isn't strong enough. They'll get to a point, if they are unhealthy, where their motivation will change, and then they'll realize, oh yeah, they were doing that health thing, and like they seem really happy, And I think that that's important for us, is to just show that this is a joyful thing. This is a great thing. We have fun at Take Shape for Life, and that changing your habits and changing your lifestyle doesn't have to be something that is a burden. We just wrote down all the things that we want to achieve. That's what successful people do. You write down what you want to achieve. And, if you have to write it down every day, then you write it down every day. But successful people get stuff done, right? That's why you guys are on this Zoom. That's why you're listening to this recording, is because you want something and you're willing to do what it takes to get to that point. And that's really what we do in Take Shape for Life, is we help people find goals, and then we help them meet those goals. How awesome, because everybody has those things, whether they're health related or financial in their life or healthy mind. I know the assessment talked a lot about relationships, your friendships, your relationship with your husband, your workplace, your stress level, all of that stuff. So everybody falls into some of these categories. They might be really healthy in their body, but they're missing some of those elements in the other areas of their life. And so I feel like even just this Habits of Health study is beneficial for everybody, no matter where they're at, either in their health journey or just in life. And, we're here to kind of be that example, be that ripple effect. And people are watching us and they're wondering what we're doing. And I love that, because I think that we can really show people that you can be healthy in your body and in your mind and in your finances. And it is a ripple effect, because people want to know what you're doing. And so, I would just encourage you guys to read through chapter 3. There's lots of good stuff that I didn't hit on, but there's always so much. And I would really just encourage you to take hold of your thoughts, the healthy mind, and maybe shift your thinking, if you need to, from the not positive parts of your health journey to the positive parts of your health journey. That's why we're writing all these things down that we want to be able to do, the fun things. Maybe it's travel, or maybe it's do an activity that you haven't been able to do. But yeah, I'm excited because we are getting into the good stuff. So next week, or your homework, so next week will be lesson 6, the power of choice and discipline. Organize your choices according to a hierarchy of importance and gain a balanced perspective as you work towards optimal health. So we're going to talk about choices and read chapter 4. So I know that it's going a little bit out of order because we've read chapter 5. This is chapter 3. Then chapter 4 is next. But the book is divided into sections. So I know it seems like we're hopping all over the place, but it does go hand in hand with the workbooks if you are confused. And so, we talk next week a lot about appetites and instincts. And I think a lot of the habits that have been downfalls for a lot of us. And so I think that really is key. And reading chapter 4. And then once we get through chapter 4, we will be into part 2 of the book. And so that's where we talk about like beyond your healthy weight and things like that. I know a lot of times people think losing weight is the end of your health journey, but really in Take Shape for Life, it's just the beginning. That really is like the first step, is getting to your healthy weight. And then we talk about really just a lot of education about food and exercise and how those really function. I know for me as a coach, I have a lot of my clients that are kind of headed into transition. They're getting pretty close to their goal, and they're a little nervous about transition and how it's all going to work. And so that's a lot of the reason why I wanted to do the study, is because they're just like, what am I going to do when I don't have that, structured, you have to eat this at this time. They're basically, wondering how it's all going to work. And I'm like, don't worry, we're going to go through all that. Awesome. Does anybody have anything else to add? I know we got done a little bit early today, but anybody learn anything, or you want to share anything in your own health journey that we talked about? And if you would like If you would like the previous recordings, you can post it in the chat with your email and I will send those to you. Or if you know somebody that would like them, maybe they're not able to be on, but they would like the recording, just put your email in there and let me know which one you would like. This is the 4th recording. So I have the rest of them that I can email to you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. Thank you for joining us today.